New tonight, a Buncombe County woman faces felony charges after more than 40 dogs and other animals were taken away from her property.
Deputies say the animals were suffering from neglect at a home in Leicester. News 13's Samir Nefsi was there as those animals were taken and has new information on previous calls to that address.
For roughly 8 hours, this was the scene in Leicester.
We looked out the window and we heard some commotion, and we've seen off and on vehicles coming in and out.
Members of the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals responding to a rescue mission involving more than 40 dogs, mostly poodle mixes.
We can barely handle the one, let alone 40, including some puppies. It's too much.
Along with the dogs, a tortoise, rabbit, fish, and several birds living in neglectful conditions were removed from the property, that according to an ASPCA spokesperson. Throughout the day, a dozen ASPCA volunteers have been taking dogs out of that tall tree drive home and taking them to this exam tank. There, they're taking photos of them and checking on the animals' wellness. From there, they're being placed into cages and put in this relocation vehicle. While we've been on scene, we've noticed adult dogs and puppies all coming out of this home.
It's really devastating.
According to a spokesperson for the Buncombe County Sheriff's Office, there have been 35 animal-related calls for service to the property.
We've seen so many of these dogs run through our yards, and we just think it's somebody like us, just a normal dog lover that just wanted to welcome in as many as they could help.
With complaints ranging from barking to loose dogs and concerns over a lack of shelter and food for dogs and horses at or around the property.
To hear what's been going on, it's really sad.
This woman, Lindsay Rue of Leicester, faces a number of charges from felony killing animal by starvation, animal cruelty, resist, delay, or obstruct, and child neglect.
No words. They're not people, but they seem like people. So, you have to care for them, treat them like we treat ours, like she's our child.
The sheriff's office has not released much about the investigation, but wrote in a statement that it was part of a long-term investigation by the Animal Service Unit.
Animals don't deserve to be treated like that.
The 41 dogs were taken to an emergency shelter where they'll be treated for any necessary care. More charges are expected to be filed against Rue.
Got a snapshot into Asheville's homeless population. Every year, a group called the Asheville-Buncombe Continuum of Care joins forces with the community to collect data on those experiencing homelessness.
Last year, they counted more than 630. That includes about 200 unsheltered people. News 13's Taylor Thompson explains the end goal is to find people a permanent place to stay.
A record high turnout. Leaders say this is a community that cares, and that shows as over 80 volunteers came out for the count.
Last year there were 48 volunteers. This year there are 84.
I think what's so important is that we all recognize that solving homelessness is a community-wide issue.
Community involvement is vital as we see the numbers continue to rise.
For the past 3 years at least, we have seen an increase in unsheltered homelessness. So tonight's critical because the data that we receive, the data that really helps us inform strategy, helps us to right-size the needs of the community of people experiencing homelessness. There's clipboards back there.
The data helps leaders meet the needs of people in the situation to help lift them out of homelessness.
I think there's a real heightened sense of urgency around this issue. A lot of people want to help participate in addressing this crisis. I think it's actually a really important experience. If you know, a lot of people have a lot of opinions about this issue, but until you speak to someone who is experiencing homelessness, you don't really get a total picture.
Y'all good?
Volunteers believe getting involved is part of the solution.
I look at this data every year, and I'm excited to get it. And I'm really curious about where we're at this year. And so I thought it made sense to be a part of it.
What brings you out here tonight?
Helping my city out. We're here trying to get an understanding of homelessness. In the beginning is starting with funding. So you got to get a count first.
And it looks like a lot more people are feeling the same way this year compared to last year with the number of volunteers. What do you think that means from a community stance?
Well, it stands out, you know, and other people think like I'm thinking. You know, we can sit back and look at our problems, or we can sit back and do something about it.
Going beyond seeing the homeless and working to fix what's contributing to it.
Oftentimes in our community, homeless people you look over them, right? You don't really acknowledge that they're there. And so this is really a time where you are set up to directly engage.
And leaders say we can expect to see the results from this year's point in time count later this spring.
Recovering from trauma, substance use, and mental health conditions can be difficult, but help is out there.
Red Oak Recovery is located in Leicester. It offers a focused treatment center for young men. In Tuesday's Addicted America, News 13's Stephanie Santastasi shows us how it has changed one man's life.
The sound of a waterfall. It can be peaceful and relaxing, for some even therapeutic. Many young men like Henry Scott Solomon spend days reflecting here at Scoon Creek Falls.
When I was a client, I would just sit and meditate right here. It's very zen, it's very natural.
That could also be said for the rest of the Red Oak Recovery campus. The facility sits in the heart of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It serves as a sanctuary for those seeking recovery from substance use.
I was a client from January 4th to April 4th of 2021.
Henry says it was here where he turned his life around, but it was no easy journey.
For most of my life, I lived in Southern California, specifically in downtown Los Angeles. And from the age of 11, I was exposed to alcohol primarily as a beginning.
He says it only got worse as he got older.
I self-medicated from alcohol to marijuana to LSD, and once a run-in with heroin and PCP.
2 days after his 21st birthday, Henry was admitted here.
I needed to change, and I just completely surrendered to what I needed to go under.
Red Oak Recovery focuses on evidence-based practices combined with adventure therapy.
We have ropes courses and we have trails. On weekends, a lot of times we're out canoeing, camping, fly fishing, rock climbing, backpacking, and so on.
Once clients complete their initial check-in, this is where they'll land. Staff will make sure they feel safe and comfortable here in their new home, which is one of these cabins for the next 75 to 90 days.
The goal is to offer incredibly good treatment so we can send people out and they can discover that not only is addiction and mental health or mental illness real, recovery is real.
Bob Cummings is the training manager at Red Oak, a job he says he's passionate about.
I'm a recovering addict, and I spent many years in the addiction world.
Something clients like Henry appreciate, which is why he's now also paying it forward as a recovery guide.
I'm the first guide that they interact with.
Henry says he never imagined he'd be here today, but he's thankful he is, and thankful for the help and love he received from this community.
Getting right by myself and for myself, that is where you're able to give it back.
In Leicester, Stephanie Santastasi, News 13.
Red Oak also has 2 other campuses, one for women and another for young adolescent men.
If you or someone you know is struggling with substance use, help is available. We have those resources that you need on WLOS.com.